The Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee opened in 1893. It has never filed for bankruptcy. It has never been demolished. It has never been converted to condominiums, offices, or emergency housing. It has operated continuously as a luxury hotel for more than 130 years under a succession of ownership structures that, by every financial metric this channel has applied to the 8 case files preceding it, should have produced at least one catastrophic failure. That it did not is the forensic anomaly this episode examines. The Pfister was built by Guido Pfister, a German immigrant leather merchant who wanted to give Milwaukee a hotel that would make the city's commercial ambitions legible to the rest of the world. His son Charles completed the project after Guido's death, opening a building that cost approximately $1 million in 1893, an extraordinary sum for a Midwestern city of Milwaukee's size and commercial weight at that time. The building was designed by Henry Koch in a Romanesque revival style that communicated permanence, institutional seriousness, and a level of material investment that the Milwaukee business community had not previously attempted in a hospitality context. The Victorian art collection that the Pfister family assembled for the hotel's public spaces remains one of the largest collections of Victorian-era art in any American hotel, a cultural asset that has survived every ownership transition with its integrity intact. The forensic question this case poses is not why the Pfister collapsed. It is why it did not, given that every structural condition this channel has identified as predictive of institutional failure in the American Grand Hotel sector is present in the Pfister's history. The building is more than 130 years old. It has required continuous capital investment to maintain its competitive position. It has changed hands multiple times. It has operated in a secondary market. Milwaukee is not New York, Miami, or San Francisco. That does not command the revenue per available room that the appraisal methodologies of the luxury hospitality sector typically require to justify the capital expenditure levels that a building of its age and character demands. And yet, the Pfister stands, operates, and continues to attract the sports teams, corporate travelers, and leisure guests that constitute its commercial base, including a documented history of paranormal experiences reported by NBA players staying there that has generated more national press coverage than most hotels receive from their marketing budgets. If this is your first case file from this channel, subscribe now, because every episode adds one more layer to what you are about to understand about the architecture of institutional failure. The covenant that explains the Pfister's survival is not written into any loan document or landmark designation. It is written into the ownership structure that has governed the hotel since 1962, when Marcus Hotels and Resorts, the hospitality division of the Marcus Corporation, acquired the property and began a relationship with the building that has now lasted more than 60 years. The Marcus Corporation is a publicly traded Wisconsin company whose primary business lines include hotels, movie theaters, and restaurants. It is not a sovereign wealth fund, a private equity firm, or a real estate investment trust. It is a Midwestern family-controlled public company whose governance structure has consistently prioritized long-term asset stewardship over short-term financial optimization. That distinction is the forensic finding at the center of this case. Every institutional failure this channel has documented has involved an ownership structure with incentives misaligned with the long-term physical and commercial health of the asset. The Trump Organization's Plaza acquisition was optimized for leverage and brand association. The Al-Walid Consortium's Plaza acquisition was optimized for trophy asset exposure. El-Ed's Plaza acquisition was optimized for condominium conversion arbitrage. Anbang's Waldorf acquisition was optimized for capital deployment in a fraudulent insurance structure. The private ownership of the Drake was optimized for tax efficiency and land position. In every case, the optimization target was not the hotel. The Marcus Corporation's optimization target has been the hotel. The company has invested in the Pfister's physical plant consistently across 6 decades, funding renovations that have maintained the building's competitive position in the Milwaukee luxury market without attempting to extract returns that the market could not support. The debt structure that Marcus has applied to the Pfister has been sized to what the building's operations can service in normal market conditions, not to what an aggressive appraisal of the building's trophy asset premium might theoretically support. The covenant nobody else has read is the one that aligns ownership incentives with asset longevity rather than with financial engineering. It does not appear in any regulatory filing or loan document. It appears in the 60-year record of capital decisions that the Marcus Corporation has made about a building in a secondary market that the conventional hospitality investment community has never treated as a trophy asset worth over-leveraging. At what point does ownership alignment become the most valuable covenant a historic hotel can have? Leave your analysis in the comments below. The appraisal methodology that would have been applied to the Pfister Hotel had it entered the trophy asset acquisition market at any point in its post-war history would have produced a valuation that the Milwaukee luxury hospitality market could not support. Milwaukee is not a gateway city. It does not command the average daily rates that the appraisal models applied to the Plaza, the Waldorf, or the Fairmont require to justify the debt structures placed on those assets. A Pfister acquisition at trophy asset pricing would have produced a debt service coverage ratio indistinguishable from the ratios that sent those properties into bankruptcy proceedings. The Pfister has never been acquired at trophy asset pricing because the Marcus Corporation has never sold it into the trophy asset market. That decision, to retain ownership of an asset that could have been monetized at a significant premium during the peak of the 2004 to 2007 luxury hospitality acquisition cycle, is the appraisal story of this case. The Marcus Corporation chose not to test what the market would pay for the Pfister, because the answer would have required them to transfer the asset to a buyer whose optimization target would not have been the hotel. The forensic analysis of this choice reveals a category of institutional wisdom that the appraisal methodology of the luxury hospitality sector has no framework for valuing. The decision to forego a high-value exit is not captured in any revenue per available room calculation, any capitalization rate analysis, or any debt service coverage model. It is a governance decision made by a family-controlled public company with a 60-year relationship with a specific building in a specific city that reflects an understanding of what the building requires that no external appraisal can fully price. The Pfister's physical condition today reflects that understanding. The Victorian art collection is maintained and curated. The guest rooms have been renovated through multiple cycles while preserving the building's architectural character. The public spaces retain the material quality that Guido Pfister commissioned in 1893, while meeting the operational standards that contemporary luxury hospitality requires. No independent property condition assessment of the Pfister has documented the deferred maintenance liability that characterized the Drake, the Fairmont, or the Ambassador at comparable points in their ownership histories. If the forensic analysis this channel conducts is changing how you read real estate headlines, the like button is how the algorithm knows to send this case file to the next analyst who needs it. The Pfister's survival architecture has 4 documented components that distinguish it from every asset in this channel's case file archive. The first is ownership continuity. Marcus Hotels and Resorts has owned and operated the Pfister for more than 60 years without a distressed sale, a forced refinancing, or a bankruptcy proceeding. That continuity has allowed the company to make capital investment decisions on a long-term horizon, rather than in response to the short-term pressure that debt service obligations and investor return expectations impose on leveraged ownership structures. The second component is market calibration. The Pfister has never attempted to price itself out of the Milwaukee market. Its rate strategy has maintained a premium positioning within the local competitive set, without chasing the average daily rate assumptions that would require a debt structure the market cannot support. That calibration is the opposite of the strategy employed by every failed asset in this channel's archive, each of which priced itself according to what the trophy asset market would lend against, rather than according to what its operating market could sustain. The third component is the paranormal dividend, which is not a term the Marcus Corporation uses, but which describes a genuine commercial phenomenon. The Pfister's documented history of paranormal experiences reported by guests, most visibly by NBA players who have requested room changes or refused to stay in specific rooms during road trips to Milwaukee, has generated a category of national media coverage that no marketing budget in the secondary market hospitality sector could purchase. The building's reputation for haunting is a competitive differentiator that costs nothing to maintain and that attracts a specific category of curious traveler who would not otherwise consider Milwaukee as a destination. The fourth component is the Victorian Art Collection, which functions as a cultural institution embedded in a commercial hospitality operation in a way that creates value for both without requiring either to compromise its primary function. The collection draws museum-quality visitors into a hotel. The hotel provides the collection with a permanent exhibition context that no municipal art institution in Milwaukee could afford to construct. The mutual subsidy is the most efficient cultural asset deployment documented in any case file in this channel's archive. The Pfister Hotel's survival across 130 years of American economic history, 2 world wars, the Great Depression, the post-war suburbanization that hollowed out American downtowns, the urban renewal programs that demolished the architectural fabric of cities like Milwaukee with institutional enthusiasm, the financial engineering cycles of the 1980s and 1992 that converted historic hotel assets into leveraged buyout vehicles, and the trophy asset acquisition mania of the 2000s that sent the Plaza, the Waldorf, and the Fairmont into successive cycles of over-leveraged distress, constitutes a forensic record that deserves to be read as carefully as any bankruptcy filing in this channel's archive. The Pfister survived not because it was lucky, not because Milwaukee was spared the economic disruptions that destroyed hotels in larger markets, and not because the building's physical quality was so exceptional that it transcended the financial logic that governs every other asset in this channel's case files. It survived because the ownership structure that has governed it for more than 60 years has consistently made decisions that aligned the financial interests of the owner with the physical and institutional interests of the building. That alignment is rarer in the American hospitality sector than any specific debt covenant structure or appraisal methodology, and its presence or absence is more predictive of long-term asset survival than any financial metric this channel's forensic framework typically applies. The lesson the Pfister teaches is not that historic hotels can survive anything. It is that historic hotels can survive everything if the ownership structure is designed to let them. The buildings in this channel's archive that failed did not fail because they were old, or because they were in difficult markets, or because earthquakes or boycotts or pandemics found them at vulnerable moments. They failed because the ownership structures placed on them were optimized for something other than their survival. The Pfister was optimized for survival. The result is a 130-year-old hotel in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that NBA players are afraid to sleep in, that contains one of the finest collections of Victorian art in any American hotel, and that has never, in 130 years, given a bankruptcy court the opportunity to determine what it is worth. If this case file changed how you evaluate ownership structure as a predictor of institutional survival, subscribe to this channel, because the next case examines a building that had the perfect ownership structure and was destroyed anyway, by the one force that no covenant can constrain. And in the comments, given the Pfister's 60-year ownership continuity under the Marcus Corporation, what specific governance structure or covenant language would you recommend to replicate that alignment in a hospitality asset changing hands today? The case file is open.